Hello everybody, I'm Sergis Verdaguer from ProGETonE project. ProGETonE is an European-funded project developing new solutions to increase energy efficiency and seismic safety in the building sector. We continue with our webinar cycle with a very interesting debate today around the barriers and the gaps that need to be overcome for a broad deployment of deep renovation. We know there are different aspects to consider from citizen and users engagement to political commitment or financial support. So we have invited four different experts to give us their insights on the subject. So first of all, we will have Anais Bas. She's a partner at Cyclica Cooperative in Catalonia. She is a specialist in social architecture and energy culture and has been coordinating several urban renovation projects. Then we will have Johann Skisser. He's technical director at Alchemia Nova in Austria. He's a specialist in holistic and systemic circular economy solutions, in particular for the building sector. We should have also with us Kenneth Lund Holmstenkier and Morten Lund from the University of Aalborg. Unfortunately, there has been some logistic issues, last-minute logistic issues, and they will not present their insights on that subject. Moreover, unfortunately, we have had some issues with the first presentation, so the first minute of Anais Bass' presentation is missing. Anyway, we think that it's still a very interesting presentation, and the final roundtable with some key questions are very interesting. So thank you to watch this webinar, and we hope you will enjoy it. Thank you.
Building renovation passport. At European level, there is a very different distribution of multifamily dwellings, as well as we can see in the figure. In states such as Estonia, Italy, or Spain, multifamily dwellings are predominant and represent more than 70% of the residential stock. In the case of Spain, for example, this means 18 million houses. So we think that multifamily buildings should be a priority in the strategy to decarbonize the residential stock. However, the ratios of intervention in this type of buildings are much lower than the 3% mark on the long-term renovation strategy, due in great part to the singularities that they present. Precisely, these singularities mean that intervening in a group of single-family houses differs a lot from intervening in a multi-family building. The approach in both cases has to be different due to these particular challenges that have to be considered in multi-family buildings, as the ownership structure, the difficulty in reaching agreements, or the different level of engagement in the process of renovation. Therefore, the approach to intervene in multifamily buildings should prioritize responding to social barriers as much as to the technical or financial ones. That's why we decided to start working with communities to help us identifying barriers and promoting triggers that motivate a learning process that contributes to a change of habits in energy management, as well as in the promotion of deep renovation. We had the opportunity in 2018 in the Vilabat project. Vilabat is an energy transition project that took place in the city of Viladecans, funded by the European Urban Innovative Action Programme. The project proposes the creation of a new public-private citizens partnership made up of the city council, companies, and professionals of the sector and citizens. One of the services offered in the project was the Efficient Home Program, which is aimed at users of residential buildings to promote an energy culture and the energy renovation of buildings. 13 households located in 11 buildings participated in the program, which by extension represented 185 households in the buildings studied. Each building had a representative person who attended the program with the role of energy leader in their community. And during the course, we worked deeply on the transmission of knowledge to the rest of the neighborhood in order to reach the largest possible number of the population of the municipality. The collective work was very important in terms of the transfer and exchange of knowledge, since the profiles of the participants were very diverse, which favored a broad debate. And also this heterogeneity of the group in terms of gender, age, and origin implies a challenge in terms of different learning rhythms, but at the same time, it provides great potential in terms of the scope of learning, since it is constituted from very different visions. The reality we have faced when dealing with energy renovation processes in multifamily buildings is that the lack of the community engagement from the initial phases of the project may become very difficult barriers to overcome. It is necessary to overcome the conditions that distance people from the decision to renovate, and these conditions have to do with visions, values, and shared social dynamics that place low priority on the energy aspects of the home. The main barriers we identified are incomplete microinformation, the lack of comprehensive advice and unified information on advantage, methodologies, and solutions. The weak environmental awareness, the absence of values that link environmental problems, and the daily actions of people that impede a greater willingness to contribute to a sustainable society and the value renovation and its benefits. The difficulty of reaching agreements, the existence of factors that hinder the possibility of reaching agreements that allow renovation processes to begin within the framework of communities with a high number of owners and complex interpersonal relationships, and inefficient energy habits, the daily energy management practices that are not very efficient and are prone to the rebound effect. So initial engagement is fundamental in order to both trigger interventions and ensure their success. To trigger these social barriers and the lack of community engagement, we are working on the definition of a community support plan. It is a technical support in face-to-face and digital format that aims to involve people as genuine agents in renovation. Typically, proposals to reduce the use of energy in buildings have focused on the physical, technological, or economic aspects of the built environment. More recently, proposals are showing that a reduction in energy consumption is affected not only by how buildings are designed and built, but also by how they are managed and used. In that sense, community support plan proposal considers the user and the community as a key stakeholder in the decarbonization process of the building stock. We think that it is necessary to remember that buildings don't use energy, people do. We believe that a community support plan is a key element to address many of the barriers present during the energy renovation of multifamily buildings in the legislative, operational, financial, and social field. Regarding the responses to the social barriers, our proposal for the community support plan can be summarized in 2 points. The first one refers to facilitating the active participation of the community, creating commitment to the energy renovation of the building or neighborhood, which also contributes to improve the feeling of community identity. The second one refers to improve the energy habits and environmental awareness of the members of the community. This way, we minimize the possible rebound effect that tends to appear when renovation processes are carried out. In that sense, the community support plan looks for a behavioral change of the community through educational and participation, increasing the awareness of the importance of our own decisions to a sustainable society, and also increasing the social visibility of energy renovation. And in relation to the conceptual basis, the proposal has the clear will to put the person in the center, as it is the one who decides to start the renovation. Without the consideration of the community, there are no triggers for the process, we think. But for this, it's necessary to change the perspective on the renovation process. The proposal is based on the conceptual framework of energy cultures that announces that to achieve a better energy behavioral it is not enough to consider the material aspects of the building, but that it is also necessary to take into account three more factors that are interrelated: the beliefs, the practices, and external factors. The community support plan anticipates different scenarios, considering the difficulty that communities may find in deciding upon, organizing and executing a renovation process of the building, the allocation of different types of support depending on the ease to or difficulty that the community may have to carry out these processes, has an equalizing effect and opportunities. To determine the necessary types of support for each community can be carried out assessment using surveys in which the demographic and socioeconomic profile, level of community structuring, and certain key aspects are analyzed, such as the energy culture or different homes. And to finish, we are currently working on the next steps to integrate the learning of working with the communities with other instruments, such as the building passport, to define the community support plan throughout the renovation processes that will serve as a community management tool, participation and learning. And in this sense, last year, we presented a publication together with GBC Spain, where we made a proposal for the definition of the building renovation passport, an instrument that accompanies the community throughout the process of step-by-step deep renovation. Regarding the lifestyle, the community support plan requires a flexible framework that can be adapted to the changing environment of the step-by-step renovation. And the proposal is based on an iterative process of continuous improvement, introducing two key steps at the beginning of the process: the activation and the commitment of the community. These two steps are essential to incorporate in the project the needs and aspirations of the community regarding the renovation process, as well as to transfer them the values and benefits of the energy renovation of their building. We must consider that to achieve the decarbonization of the building stock in a step-by-step format, the long-term commitment of the community to the public objectives is we think it is essential. So thank you very much for counting on Cyclica, and I invite you to visit the website and consult our publication.
Thank you, Anais. Thank you for this interesting presentation. We have had some issues at the beginning of the broadcast through the YouTube channel. So now I will present also the next speakers just before the presentation. Thank you very much, Anais. Just as a reminder, Anais is a partner at Cyclica Cooperative in Catalonia, and she's a specialist in social architecture and energy culture, and has been coordinating several projects on urban renovation. So now Johann Skisse, which is technical director at Chemia Nova in Austria. He's a specialist in holistic and systemic circular economy solutions, in particular for the building sector. So Johann, if you want to share the screen. Perfect. Thank you.
Okay. Great. Thank you, Segis. Yeah, as you can imagine, there is quite a, wow, it's black. There is quite a lot on things to say on this topic. Unfortunately, yeah, in this short time frame, I'll just give you an overview. Usually, we work with solutions rather than the barriers, but yeah, everything goes, and of course, you need the barriers first to be able to provide the solutions. So let's start with these for now. We get inspired by trees, and we believe that trees are a very strong solution for our economy in general to thrive. We can get all the inspiration from them, and we can design the cities accordingly. That's like, do you see these black stripes as I can see it from there? No. Anyways, so building like a tree is the ones that we would work for, not only in the inspiration of how a tree is designed that is like fully circular, but also in the provision of the ecosystem services. You know what? I'll stop and share again. I'm really sorry. It's
okay.
quite dark. I see before it looked better. Okay.
Yeah, it seems better now. Yeah.
Good. Okay, building like a tree. So in general, we now can go through different cycles of a building. And as we know, we can split it up, and we can very roughly now structure it and go along the whole process until we reach again at the end of the building life cycle and see the barriers along the way. This is not an exhaustive list, but it is one. In the planning, of course, it's obvious, it's very important that it's a multi-stakeholder thing, and you need to consider many different opinions already in this stage. If not, then I think it's already lost, or it's already too late, or will be much more expensive at a later stage. So that also involves more costs in the beginning, which is usually one of the biggest barriers for anybody who wants to build. And then there is you need to plan with material reuse in mind, with modularity, standardization, and prefabrication. So in theory, these are then directly already the solutions are hidden in the barriers. So yeah. In the tendering process, which is the next step, I mean, there is this permission, of course, and then all along the way, we believe that green tendering is a good lever for uptake of circular solutions. So also this green public procurement, as you know, and a good entry point is CO2 or recycling material as well, which is also quite obvious and works these days quite well already. So digitalization, digital twins, and how to use other parts of a building rather than just linear and new parts. So that can also be part of the tendering process. The taxonomy is a door opener potentially. You probably know that, how it works for financing, and you will get this is around the financing, and it is not do no significant harm on any of these categories that are listed there. For the construction side per se, it needs upskilling of many parties in the chain, of course. It's the skills that are needed for using the secondary materials. It's the finding of these materials. It's, of course, also the legal barriers. Once you excavate the soil, you need to prove that it is, safe enough to be reinserted. So there is much more. And of course, also in area development, that there can be much more done than it is happening these days. Urban mining is a good approach already in construction. These work already. These sites, you crush everything in pieces and then just reuse it in any concrete mixture again. that's the lowest value that you can generate, but it's already like at least the recycle thinking, a way of doing things. We also see a very big barrier in the handover and in the operation. Usually then the building changes hands, or very often at least, from the one that like the invest and the one that maintains or then monitors the building. They're usually different parties, and as long as this is the case, somebody will want to earn much more money and during the construction, and they don't care so much about the life cycle, the use cycle of the building. That's obvious, and there need to be much more integration of the planner constructor. And you can do much more, of course. You can let the building be part of a network and of a neighborhood symbiosis, rather than a standalone unit that needs to provide everything by itself. And of course, digitalization is, as always, is even in operation, and what needs to be maintained or renovated at what time is key also. And then, of course, these repairable or maintainable structures need to be easily deconstructible or removable. So that's why we love to see buildings as services. The whole building, you can see the building materials, the construction materials as a service, and you can actually not only save money but also make money with the building in this thing. And then, of course, there's the after use and the deconstruction. Deconstruction is key, as you know, and there are many after use scenarios. You can have the longest possible, of course, time duration and multifunctionality of buildings is something, but then there's also the logistics, the space for where to store the building materials, the business models, and this can potentially be reached via quota and the like. And then, of course, if people that are highly paid need to put hands on many times and like take something, store it somewhere, take it again, the value is different. Whereas before, the linear business model used to externalize these costs of establishing the material per se, and then they are not paid well in the like other countries also, and that's why we pay little. I mean, we don't pay little anymore, anyways, as we have seen the last years. But yeah, you know the story. Deconstructibility, everything is there, so we don't need to. It's not about the building innovation; it's rather about the social innovation and the governance innovation that is needed. You can find everything from deconstructible foundations to bricks to wood to even concrete panels that are deconstructible if they're not like in a dry system, if they're not built wet on the side. So summing it up, there are many enabling factors. There's actually a nice literature, circular business model for the built environment from Arup and MacArthur Foundation and the like, that sums it up quite nicely, and that's a graphic from them. It's design, it's information, and it's collaboration. These three areas are key enablers to really increase value and look into performance rather than ownership, and see the asset in the value does not decrease over time so much as it has had to. Usually, it decreased below zero in the end, as you had to pay for the demolition. But now you still have a residual value of the building, and that's for asset managers also quite an interesting part. And of course, waste is also an issue. You don't need to pay for the waste thing. So in our understanding, 3 strategic pathways are the key to success. It's circular, nature-based, and participatory, and I think that's a win-win-win, and depending on how you see it, even a 4th win is possible. Yeah? The people, planet, profit, and the person, like on an individual level. Thank you for that. That was a quick run through, and happy to catch up anytime.
Thank you, Johan. It's a very interesting presentation. Sorry, I'm okay. Very interesting presentation regarding how can we promote these circular buildings and the enablers part and the outcomes, expected outcomes that should be, really the key points to ensure that we can that people can require for circular buildings. So we had planned to have the colleagues from the Aalborg University, but unfortunately Morten has some connectivity issues and is not able to connect. And Kenneth, he has also, he was supposed to be here, but he has had some logistic issues with her flight and it's impossible for him to join us. So we remain us, and we have no, we will continue with the common questions, with this common roundtable with some questions. So for the YouTube followers, if you have some questions, you could put on the comment section. If not, I have already some questions that I would like to share with you. For example, that's also addressing a part of the financial strategy that Morten Lund and Kenneth Lundholm should address, but maybe you can give some answers on that. So, for example, how can we promote deep renovation in a region where public funds for renovation are not specific for deep renovation, but they include also some light renovations like painting the facades or some I would say simple renovation. So in that case of there are some countries in Europe that the funds are not just for deep renovation but for all the types of renovation. How can we promote deep renovation? How could be the strategy? Is that something that you want to answer?
I have a comment to that. Yeah, I love these renovation kits. They are usually then they pop up in the last years quite regularly, and these are these prefabricated modular systems that you pop on your facade, and within the facade you have the new wiring and the new wastewater. You have the insulation inbuilt, and possibly if you use wood, which some of these suppliers already use, you also store the carbon and have everything like inside. So it's, I don't know. I think we don't need to call this deep renovation, but it's a very quick renovation, and the whole building can be like renovated within a few days. Of course, it's a bit it needs a well thinking and well planning before, and this can be done with drones. They can even capture the building, and digitalization can support it as well to measure the exact locations of the windows and everything, how the building looks like. And I think this can be an enabler for the future to come, and not needing to tear down walls and have these deep renovations, as you said, but light renovations, but still for energy efficiency.
Yeah. Thank you. Anais, do you want to add something? If not, I have a question for you.
No, it's okay. Let's go to the other questions, Agis.
Okay, so that's also for both of you, but do you consider that it's possible to engage low technical or low environmental profile users or citizens and to engage them in a deep renovation process without increasing their climate change awareness? Is that a problem? Is really the awareness of or the lack of awareness of these users, usual citizens that are not maybe into the sector of the construction sector or the energy sector, and so they are not they have some lack of knowledge on that. Is it necessary to first of all give them some knowledge, or it's not necessary?
Of course, as I said in my well, it's of course it's not possible to engage low technical profile citizens without increasing the awareness and the knowledge. Social innovation is the most important way to raise awareness and trigger behavioral changes for most sustainable consumption patterns, promote deep renovation, and support the deployment of new green tools, and ultimately improve public acceptance and facilitate the energy transition, which the energy transition implies structural changes in the ways we relate to each other, work, and consume. Therefore, we as a society will require new knowledge and awareness and skills to adapt to these processes of change, with special attention to the most vulnerable groups.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Anais.
I have a bit of a different opinion on that, but yeah, maybe that sparkens also the discussion further.
Sure. Yeah.
I think it is possible actually to engage them. I think it's all about the value proposition and the wording you make to the specific target groups. So even, I mean, awareness is good, and we all know, but we also know that we cannot reach everybody with environmental awareness, and many people are just not, they don't care. And then telling them that this is bad because CO2 or whatsoever, who cares? Yeah, I mean, no, some care, some not. And then I think it's about the key messages, and then what's the pains and the gains, this classical value proposition model that they might have. So if there is a pain, for example, of having having another something solved, for example, access to high quality or food, and with a energy renovation, you also establish, like for example, a shared space with food storage, or a soft infrastructure associated to that mean like market access, or you establish a repair shop in the new building or in the new structure attached to the building or whatsoever, then this could solve other issues and give them solve a pain, or establish a new gain for them, having everything close by, or not paying so much in the energy bills, and there are many stories how you can attract it. It's mostly related to money, and that's
usually yes. Yeah.
Usually, yes.
Yeah. Okay, yeah, in that's the case, I think, of ProGETonE project, that from our point of view, one of the most interesting points is that we are renovating the building, but thanks to this structure, in ProGETonE, the ProGETonE system includes a external structure, and we are increasing the surface of the flats or the apartment. So from the point of view of the user, this is very interesting, because especially in small apartments, you are increasing quite a lot the size of your main room. So that was at the beginning one of the triggers or the enablers that users should see for requiring this kind of renovation. So I think, yeah, this is interesting. At the same time, that's true that people that care about climate change or energy transition, it will be more easy to convince to make this kind of deep renovation. But that's true that some people will not care, even if you try to increase their awareness. So that's also an issue. I have another question. Probably, let me check if we have some comments. No, we have not comments from the YouTube channel. So I have another question regarding this, the regulation at European level. So from your point of view, should the European Union policy introduce some changes regarding deep renovation in the residential sector for the, I don't know, next decade or next 5 years, for example? Or it's just that we need to implement the solutions and the services that the current legislation already allows? I don't know who want to start. Johannes?
I can, yeah. I mean, you know, I love policy recommendations, and there are so many things that need to be changed, and for sure also for the deep renovation process. I love this new European Bauhaus movement, where they try to combine renovation with social innovation, circular economy, nature-based solutions. So it's all a bit of a mix of how many functions can be embedded in a building, and then it's also becoming a social infrastructure, and starting, you know, a whole movement for the neighborhood. And under this frame, I think there can be done much more. And of course, I think it needs monies. It needs, you know, it's not only the research projects, or it needs structural funds, and the cities or the counties that need to provide these funds to really start this renovation wave that we talk about. And so I think there's much more that needs to be done. And of course, on the energy side, but also on the selection of materials. If we then use polystyrene foams all over the place just to increase energy efficiency, I think, and glue it all together and make it like, you know, a dirty renovation, if you want. So I'm not so big of a fan. So I think it should be really wise steps, and maybe something can be done via CO2, and then there are many more triggers. So I hope they release appropriate tools.
Yeah. Okay. Anais, do you want to add something?
Yes. Well, I agree with Johannes, and I will talk also about social things. I think that to become key players in these green and digital transition processes, it is generally recognized that social innovation approach provides more effectively new solutions to unmet social needs, and to foster an inclusive recovery and support the transition. Upskilling and reskilling are among the main priorities to consider. And as the principal 20 of the European Pillar of Social Rights states, that says that everyone has the right to access essential services of good quality, including water, sanitation, energy, transport, digital communications, etc. Support for access to such services shall be available for those in need. Therefore, it is necessary to pay special attention to these vulnerable communities.
Okay.
In my opinion.
Thanks. So I think that we could still have a lot of other questions, but time is short, and yes, in this type of ProGETonE webinars, we try to finish around 30 minutes. So thank you, Johannes and Anais, for these interesting insights on how to approach the deep renovation process in the residential sector. Sorry that Kenneth Lundholm and Morten Lund have not had the chance to connect or to speak. Morten was at the beginning here, but then some connectivity issues. So anyway, thank you very much for your contribution.
Thank you, Sergis, for the invitation.
Okay, so this webinar will be uploaded on the YouTube channel, and yes, you can still watch it during next month until the end of the project. That will be around September. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Bye bye.